So this is Martin Luther King Day, and we've been talking about how he is known for trying to get us past the racial inequality we had, but we also want to talk about the income inequality that he talked about decades ago. And boy, how right he was. I mean, he was right back then. He's even more right today. John has some figures for you that are stunning.
Yeah. So these figures are coming out of an Oxfam study, and if you thought that you would learn something about income inequality as a result of perhaps the Occupy Wall Street, these facts blow anything we thought we knew out of the water. The most significant, perhaps, the 85 richest people in the world own the same amount of wealth as the 3.5 billion poorest. You could fit those 85 people in the tiny studio that we are shooting this video in, and they'd probably have shoulder room, and they have more wealth than half of all of the humans living in our overcrowded Earth.
Now, look, you gotta understand something. I get it, man. Of course, the richest people have more than the poorest people, of course. And of course, the 50% of the world that's in the bottom bracket have very little money. I know that. You got sub-Saharan Africa, you got large parts of China, India, etc. We're not naive about that, right? When I saw the first number, I thought, well, okay, 85,000, right? Mm-hmm. The richest 85,000 people have more than 3.5 billion people, right? Yeah. That's something I could wrap my mind around. I can understand that. Yeah, I get how economics works, right? 85 people, period. 85, period, right? No, there's something wrong here. There's something wrong. Look, and part of the problem is John's about to explain to you is that they're hiding the money. Look, there's a reason we do taxes. I was just in the South. I was in Kentucky and I was in Tennessee over the last couple of days. And everybody complaining about taxes. But the taxes isn't just so like we just throw it in the garbage. Unfortunately, we do a lot of times with our militarism, et cetera. Yeah. But it's so that people could have an opportunity so that 3.5 billion has a shot at being one of those 85, right? Yeah. But instead, the 85 hoards and hoards and hoards, and greed has run amok. Yeah.
And by the way, it's not like it benefits those 85 people to keep 3.5 billion in extreme poverty, but it doesn't even, in a very general sense, benefit the capitalist structure. If those 3.5 billion had the money to buy things, to engage in this sort of shallow commercial lifestyle that we Americans get to engage in, that would benefit everyone because the system itself would be so much stronger. But those 85 people who could fit on a bus or live in, a frat house, they don't care about the system. They only care about their own obscene level of wealth.
There's a great editorial today in the New York Times from a guy named Polk who used to work as an investment banker. Mm-hmm. And he traded derivatives and made a lot of money doing it. And he said he eventually quit because he got a bonus of $3.4 million. Not he quit because, oh, well, that's plenty. He quit because he thought he should have gotten $8 million, okay? And he's now a couple of years removed from that, and he said, oh my God, now that I'm removed from that insane bubble, I realize we're all addicts. Everybody in Wall Street is addicted to money. Mm-hmm. And he literally, one of his wake-up moments was that he was talking to his boss at a hedge fund, and he said, but wait a minute, some of these regulations would actually help the economy and would help the markets, wouldn't they, in the long run? And the guy said, what the hell do I care about that? All I care about is today and us. I don't care about anything else, okay? That gives you a sense of how short-sighted they are. They keep digging and digging and digging. The Balrog's around the corner, but they keep digging because they can't help it. They're addicted. Yeah. They're addicted to that money, and the greed is going to destroy us all.
Yeah. Wall Street will be the next Moria. Mark his words. So more crazy facts. To give you an idea of not just the end result of this, but how we got to a position where 85 people could have as much wealth as 3.5 billion. Since the late 1970s, tax rates for the richest have fallen in 29 of the 30 countries for which data is available.
So when they say taxes are worse, that's not true. It's the exact opposite of the truth. Taxes have actually gotten lower and lower and lower. Some areas, some taxes go up, like the sales tax. Why? Because we all pay that. The poor pay that, the middle class pay that. It's not that big a percentage of the rich's income. They love sales tax because that's redistributing the money so that they get more out of the middle class and the poor. Yeah. Whereas other taxes, like estate taxes, going down, right? The investment taxes, the fact that the Mitt Romneys and the Warren Buffetts of the world pay less than their secretary is a crime. Same exact editorial in the New York Times from a guy who was there. Mm-hmm. They say that in that circle in Wall Street, they're like, well, of course we should pay less taxes than our secretary. We work so hard. But everybody works hard.
Yeah.
Everybody works hard. Your secretary
man, you
works
press those
hard.
buttons.
Yeah.
You gotta press those buttons.
Yeah, you're not extraordinary. You just happen to be in a situation where you were able to buy off the politicians so that they lower your taxes to a totally unnatural and unfair level. My God, Mitt Romney, who has literally hundreds of millions of dollars, in the years that he knew he was going to run for president, where he was trying to pay as much taxes as possible, could not even pay 13%. He was at 12.9%. 12.9% on average in the years he paid the most taxes. How is that fair? An average guy will pay around 25%. And when you consider sales tax, will pay a much higher percentage of his income. It ain't right. MLK was right, and it's even worse today than it was back then.
Yeah. More crazy figures. Wealthy individuals and companies hide $21 trillion in wealth in a web of tax havens around the world. That is a very significant amount of money, more than the U.S. GDP, of course. In the U.S., the top 1% captured 95% of the growth after the 2009 financial crisis. So which I love, a crisis that was caused by them, wrecked the economy for us, and they're doing quite well in the wake of it.
No, but don't worry, they recovered. So you have to understand something. This is a really important final point. It's not an accident. It's not a coincidence. The rules were set in their favor by them, by the guys that they bought, okay? So the 29 out of 30 countries, the taxes go down. They have these tax havens, $21 trillion they're hiding. You think the treasury departments of all those countries don't know that? Of course they know that, but they let them hide it anyway, because they run the government. They get the taxes from us, but not from those guys. From the guys who can most afford it, they get the least amount of taxes as a percentage, right? So they know it, and you think Obama, the guy with the change placards, the guy with the hope placards, like he doesn't know that 95% of the economic recovery under Obama went to the top 1%? He knows, but I got bad news for you. He was also elected by them. Not just elected by them, by selected by them. Because before we even got to vote, there was a different kind of primary, a primary where the donors poured in a ton of money to the candidates they liked, and the candidates they didn't like that were more populist, whether they were on the right or the left, were considered fringe candidates, unacceptable candidates, outside of the mainstream candidates. So those guys never got a chance. They never got to go into the debates. They never got any of those things. But they knew with Obama that he wouldn't change anything, and he didn't. He got a recovery and handed it right back to him.